Good morning, Hope Community Church. Today, in the book of Jeremiah, again, Jeremiah chapter 4. And if you've been following along, you know that um, Israel's in a bad situation. They're ready to be carried off into exile. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 5, God says this through the prophet. He says, "If you return, O Israel, declares the Lord, to me, you should return. If you remove your detestable things from my presence and do not waver, and if you swear as the Lord lives in truth and justice and in righteousness, then the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory." All right, so God is telling the people he wants them to do a couple things. In fact, we're going to look at three things. And he says, if you do these things, you're not going to go off into exile. Instead, you are going to be a blessing to the nations. Other people will be blessed in your repentance. So that's a good reminder that other people are blessed when we serve the Lord. Here's three things he asks them to do. He wants them to swear as the Lord lives, and he wants them to live three different ways. He says, one, in truth. When I first became a Christian, one of the things that was so appealing to me was that Jesus Christ called himself the way, the truth, and the life. And I was compelled by that. I had all my struggles, but I kept coming back to what is true? What is truth? And I would want to surround myself by people that were seeking truth. They were going after truth. One of the struggles I have as I go on in life is I don't know how much we care about truth anymore. A lot of times we seem to care more about who's on our side and if we're winning, or does this thought line up with what I think? And we don't pause to say, is this true? Because if it's not true, then it doesn't honor God. Second thing he says is in justice. That word justice in Hebrew is mishpat. And if you go throughout the Old Testament, you look up that word justice, mishpat. It is most often describing a relationship and how we treat widows, orphans, immigrants, and the poor. In other words, the most vulnerable in our society. God continues to call the people to do mishpat, to do justice for widows, to do justice for orphans. Now, obviously, he's not saying do punishment for them, but meet them where they're at. Meet their needs. Give them what is due to them as people made in the image and likeness of God. And if you want to know how much a society loves God, you just look and say, how do they care for the most vulnerable? Do they care for the unborn? Do they care for widows, orphans, immigrants, the poor, aging, hurting? God calls us to do justice. He wants us to live in truth, justice, and righteousness. This is like holiness, living a right life, lining ourselves up with the Word of God. And God says, when you do these things, when you turn from sin, you turn from detestable things, you come back to God and you live in truth and justice and righteousness, and the nations are blessed and they glory in God. Let's be a people that live in truth, justice, and righteousness. Love you and praying for you.